So today I talk about a P0746 code, what it is and how you go about fixing it. And so what is a P0746 code? Well, it's a pressure control solenoid A performance or stuck off. And what does this mean? Well, basically transmissions can have many solenoids inside of them. They can have shift solenoids, TCC solenoids. They can also have these pressure control solenoids, and the computer's seeing a problem with one of these, mainly with the pressure control solenoid A, so it's going to have to be troubleshooted to know why. And one thing about a P0746 code is that if you go to work on the transmission, sometimes this can be difficult because it can require removing a valve body and different things like this. And there's a lot of small little components that can be inside of these transmissions. And so basically keep in mind that fixing this problem can be kind of difficult sometimes. And another thing about this code is that many people, when they get it, they automatically run out and get their transmission fluid changed. They get the transmission flushed. They put all new fluid in there, a new transmission filter, and things like this. And this may or may not be a good idea. Sometimes if a transmission has very high mileage on it and that fluid's never been changed, it can sometimes cause issues if you replace all the old fluid with new fluid. I know this might sound strange, but quite often when a transmission has really high mileage on it and the fluid's never been changed, you change out all that fluid with new fluid, and like a week later, you're getting all kinds of other codes. If the transmission's been maintained regularly or it doesn't have high mileage on it, this is usually not an issue. But if yours does have high mileage on it, sometimes it could be better just to swap out the filter and save the old fluid and put it back in, or just mix in a small amount of new fluid. Again, this can vary, so you might want to do a little research, but just keep in mind that sometimes when the transmission fluid is completely changed out on a high mileage transmission, it can sometimes cause issues. And so what are some possible causes of a P0741 code? Well, the first thing to go and do is check your transmission fluid. Be sure that it's not low, that it's at the correct level. If it is low, get the right transmission fluid for your vehicle and add that in. Some newer vehicles now, they don't have a dipstick on them. It's all enclosed. So sometimes you can't check the transmission fluid. But if you can, the first thing to go and do is check your transmission fluid and be sure it's not low. The next thing that could cause this is that the transmission filter is all clogged up, and so the fluid can't go through the transmission. If your transmission doesn't have high mileage on it or anything, you can't just go get the transmission fluid replaced and the transmission filter and see if that solves the problem. If your transmission does have high mileage on it and it's never had the fluid replaced, sometimes it can be best to save the old fluid, replace the filter, and pour the old fluid back in. Or sometimes you could just add in a small amount of new fluid, like 1 quart or something like that. Again, this can vary, but the next thing that could cause this is a dirty or clogged transmission filter. And the next thing that could cause this is a bad pressure control solenoid. That solenoid might have just gone bad, it just need to be replaced. You will need to get a diagram where all the solenoids are located inside of your transmission to know where it's located and what's going on and things like that. For example, here's a 2007 Honda Pilot. And pressure control solenoid valve A would be right here, but it's going to be different depending on the vehicle, the year, different things like this. So you will need to get a diagram where all the solenoids are located inside of the transmission. But basically, these are small solenoids and they can be tested. Some different ways to go about testing them. You can use a multimeter and different things like this. There's some good YouTube videos on that. But the next thing that can cause this is a bad solenoid. Also keep in mind that if anything's wrong with the wiring going to the solenoid, there's like an open, a short, there's a bad connection somewhere, something like this, then that's going to cause the same symptoms as a bad solenoid. So be sure to keep that in mind. The next thing that could cause this is that there's just some kind of issue going on inside that transmission, that it's just gone bad and it needs to be replaced or rebuilt. Something going wrong with the valve body, or there's just some kind of issue that's causing the problem. But the next thing that could cause this is a bad transmission. And the last thing on the list is going to be that there's a bad transmission control module, or TCM. And this is not very common. Usually when you have this issue, it's going to be something else. But it is possible that something's gone wrong with that transmission control module. So the last thing on the list is going to be a bad TCM. And so that's basically it. I just want to give a basic overview of how you go about fixing a vehicle with the P0746 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. This video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.